Could some of the geological features we see today be caused by other extinction-type events, like the days of Peleg or meteors striking the Earth?
Well, I think we ought to be careful with calling meteors striking the Earth extinction events. There's definitely evidence of meteors striking Earth, and there's craters around the Earth where there's no question that something's hit the ground. But we don't get drawn into this idea that they're necessarily extinction events. For example, we constantly hear this idea that dinosaurs became extinct as a result of a meteor hitting the Earth, whereas what we find all dinosaurs in is buried in sediments laid down by water. So why can't a flood be the answer for that? That's where all the evidence really lies. So, but, we certainly don't deny that these things have occurred. It's the subsequent consequences of those things that we would question causing extinctions and so on. Maybe local extinctions, but not worldwide ones.
And science is making observations. We have observed meteors hitting the ground. They don't always cause a cavity. In fact, I think rarely do they do. But we have never seen a meteor hit the ground that caused any type of extinction event. But then it would have to be an extinction event that only killed dinosaurs, not all the other animals. It didn't make everything else go extinct, which you'd have to explain that. And then you'd have to explain how we have so much evidence of dinosaurs being here with humans at the same time. Clearly, the meteors are not an extinction event.
Yeah. Also, as well, it's interesting. I was watching David Attenborough's dinosaur documentary a couple of years ago now, and it's interesting how the meteor struck, and then it depicts a giant tsunami washing over and eliminating the dinosaurs and burying them in under sediment and things like that. And whenever you read about dinosaurs becoming extinct or other sort of local sort of events, that sort of thing, it's always water, because that's how you get fossils. And yet they won't concede to the fact that it's a worldwide flood. And that's what I find particularly confusing, but then also not confusing at the same time, because they don't want to admit that there's a creator and they don't want to be liable for their sin. They don't want to see themselves as bad people.
Yet the conclusion of our explorations of Mars is that it had a worldwide, a global flood event. And we're going to talk about that at some point. This evidence is for all the water, a global flood event, yet they can't find water. Well, we are 70% water, but they will not accept a global flood event. But, we talked about climate change. Well, why did the dinosaurs go extinct? Well, it was most likely predominantly climate change because of the end of the Ice Age. And because of the Ice Age, because these are reptiles, they don't handle cold very well. So going into an Ice Age after the flood would put them under very, not just stress, but it would limit their habitat. It would limit where they would be, to which would make them easy to be hunters and hunted out. So I think it's very much a climate change scenario as to why they died out. Now, that was recently, because like I said, we have so many accounts, and not only, the research that Joe is doing on soft tissue, that we still have soft tissue in the dinosaur bones, which means they're thousands of years, not millions of years.
The other part of the question, sorry, Diane, if you wanted to say something, or?
No, you go ahead.
The other part of the question is the days of Peleg, and the Earth was divided in the days of Peleg. There's two ways of looking at that, and I think Shogiwa has raised one of them, is that it most likely does refer to the Babel dispersion rather than the land surface being divided as such. John has often mentioned about some of the Aboriginal legends that talk about the fact that they came from the center of the world amidst much war and fighting. And so post-Babel, there may well have been a lot of wars, and therefore the earth was divided. People split and left that area. I think that that's probably the best explanation rather than the land splitting.
And keep in mind, the Tower of Babel was 100 years after the flood. So it was right there at the beginning of the Ice Age. So as they're dispersing, they're going into extreme changes in the climate, like nothing they had seen in the first 100 years. So it's interesting. And, did God use meteors to break open the fountains of the deep? That's something that's been discussed many, many times. Maybe it was meteors that set it off. All we know is he says he broke open the earth.